It's not exactly controversial to say that Star Wars on Disney Plus has kind of fallen off plus L plus ratio plus I Did Your Mom plus Your Dad Joined. And that's kind of unfortunate because with The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, Star Wars TV was really the thing that was breathing life into the franchise. I mean, Lucasfilm is so incompetent that they literally haven't been able to make a movie since The Rise of Skywalker. But after those first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, we were just inundated with mediocre to terrible offerings, whether it be Obi-Wan, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Mandalorian Season 3. I mean, it just hasn't been great. Now, yes, they did have an incredible moment with Andor, which, in my opinion, is not just the best Star Wars TV show, it's just the best thing that Star Wars has ever done. But, unfortunately, it is an exception to the rule, which is that Star Wars TV shows are, at best, mid. And so, a lot of eyes have been on this Star Wars Acolyte show. Theoretically, it could be the next Andor. Hearing about it being a show that could potentially be about like the Sith and set in the High Republic, it's kind of disconnected from everything else. I mean, that sounds very intriguing to me. So I was very excited to jump into that first official trailer, and it's fine. I mean, listen, I don't think it's bad. There are a lot of people out there that think it's straight up terrible. I don't think it's terrible at all, but it didn't do much to move my needle of excitement. Don't get me wrong, concept still intriguing. I'm interested to learn more about the High Republic. I want to know how it differs from other eras of Star Wars. Just seeing a bunch of Jedi active again is, kind of cool. I like the sort of mystery thriller aspect about it where you got, a dangerous force. I wonder what it could be. Could it possibly be the Sith? I don't know. I wouldn't dare presume. That are hunting down Jedi and the mystery is going to be unraveled. That sounds cool to me. There's some neat looking action where you have the Matrix lady, doing martial arts and using the Force. You have prequel era flippity skippity dippities. So yeah, I don't think that it's a bad trailer, but there wasn't really a moment, there wasn't a line of dialogue that made me go, whoa, oh my gosh, hype. Now with all that being said, I still remain optimistic about the series. You got the showrunner of Russian Doll, Leslie Headland, however you pronounce it. Now, this isn't a show that I've seen personally, so I don't know, maybe I'd think it's terrible and I would actually not be excited about the show, but I've only ever heard good things about this show, so they don't have just some schlub, working on this. The main thing that I'm just inherently excited about is that they're gonna have to try really hard to do cameo porn in this show because it is set 100 years before the prequels. You literally can't have Luke Skywalker going, hey guys, hey look, it's me, it's Luke Skywalker, I'm here now, hey Boba Fett, I'm just gonna show up in your show, have nothing to do with the plot, I'm just gonna be a de-aged Mark Hamill looking like a lifeless sex doll. Correct me if I'm wrong, literally the only fan servicey thing that they could possibly do here is Yoda, right? Yoda is the only character that makes sense to even be around in this time period. In fact, he probably should be in the show because he would be on the Jedi Council, which I would imagine we're going to see. So that's fine. Yoda can show up. But I'm just glad that we're not going to get frigging Obi-Wan Kenobi being like, hello, I'm actually been active, even though I'm not supposed to have been active this entire time. Hey, look, it's Darth Vader. Let's have a duel 2 weeks before A New Hope and completely remove the gravity of our final confrontation. Now, I understand that there are going to be characters from, a random High Republic book that'll show up here, but nobody's going to know who that is, so that's fine. And Leslie Headland, don't know how to pronounce her name. She's also said that she's going to pull stuff out of, Star Wars Legends, the old extended universe, which I'm not a nerd. I've never read those books either, so whatever. Do what you want with that. But I just never want to see a Skywalker ever again in my entire life. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but I only want to see them when it makes sense. There's also just some other interesting tidbits about the show, about how it's inspired by Rashomon, apparently, which, if you don't know what that is, it's an old book which was later adapted into a classic like 1950s film. The basic gimmick about the story that makes it cool is that it's about an event that takes place, and the story is told from the perspective of multiple people, so you don't necessarily know exactly what happened, and it's really a commentary on how events that take place and accusations that are made, we often just have to rely on the accounts of the people involved, and we don't really know for sure. I believe the situation that happened was a rape, so that's obviously very relevant to today's day and age. But anyways, I doubt that's what's going to happen in the Acolyte. But, it's just like an interesting concept of like, when you're watching this mystery thriller, you can't believe your eyes. There's even a line in the trailer where,
close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them.
So yeah, hopefully that plays out in an interesting manner in the show. There's like the villain character in the trailer that looks really cool, played by Amanda Steinberg. Again, she has an L in her name, so it's not Amanda. Is it? I'm assuming it's just Amandala. What? Can parents out there, give your kids easy to pronounce names, okay? So she looks really cool, and if you remember Ahsoka, those like dark Force user characters, I don't think they were Jedi or Sith, but those were like really interesting characters, and then we just never learned anything about them. It seems like Amanda Steinberg's character is actually going to play like a more prominent role in the show. Leslie Headland also talked about how her initial pitch for the show was Frozen meets Kill Bill. Not entirely sure what that means. If I'm going to try and deduce something out of that, I guess if Kill Bill is like a revenge story and Frozen is maybe about like a conflict between two sisters, I wonder, because again, I'm just sort of trying to piece together everything. Maybe if she also mentioned that Amanda Stedland's character and Squid Game guy's character, if they have a history, the Frozen connection is there was some kind of conflict between them, and she was wronged in some way, or she perceives that she was wronged, and so now she's like seeking revenge on the Jedi because she perceives that the Jedi wronged her, and she's going after again, going back to Kill Bill, she's going after all the Jedi that were involved in whatever wronged her. Obviously, I'm pulling that out of my ass, but I wonder if it's something like that. That sounds like that could be interesting. Now, there is one big red flag that people have been talking about, and it's about how Leslie Headland mentioned that she actively went out to get a writer that is not a Star Wars fan. But I actually don't think that there's anything wrong with that. She talks about how she explicitly wanted one writer that's not a Star Wars fan so that they could have a more objective judgment on whether or not a story beat is good, because they're not just going to do, the soy face meme where, look, it's a reference. You reference the thing. But they're just going to be able to sit there and be like, yeah, that's good, or yeah, that's bad. Also, it should just be noted that Tony Gilroy, for example, from what I understand, not a massive Star Wars fan. He made the best thing in Star Wars. Who is a massive Star Wars fan? Dave Filoni. He made Ahsoka. So listen, obviously it's going to be better than not if you're like knowledgeable on whatever IP or franchise you're working in, but it's never going to be the defining factor. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But yeah, The Acolyte. I'm not necessarily I don't need this to be as good as Andor, but we need to get back to Mando seasons 1 and 2, I think, and hopefully even better than that. Because Star Wars on Disney Plus, not doing too hot. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.